Alright, this is a quick comparison of the Minolta TC-1 to the Ricoh GR1. They're both very small, very pocketable 35mm point and shoot cameras. They both easily fit into your pocket, and they're two cameras that I've always wanted to get my hands on to do a little comparison. So basically, this is going to be a two-part review. This first part is going to go over the size of the cameras, the build quality, handling, their viewfinders, the sound, be it autofocus sound and film advance, as well as the autofocus speed. So first off, as you can see, they're very, very small cameras. They're both very pocketable. Ricoh GR1 is thinner, however the Minolta is narrower. Which one's easier to pocket? Definitely the GR1. That's not to say that this one isn't, but it will bulge out a little bit more out of your pocket. And it is more noticeable in your pocket than the Ricoh. In terms of build quality in both these cameras is honestly top notch. The Minolta TC-1 does have the edge in terms of fit and finish. The quality of construction on this camera is extremely high end. Stamped titanium. You get a real leather covering for the grip. Glass LCD cover. The knob is made out of titanium. It's a metal knob. And just the way all these parts fit together, it's amazing. The Ricoh is also extremely well put together. It doesn't give you the same feeling in your hand as the Minolta does in terms of sheer build quality, but it is very robust, and it's made out of die-cast magnesium. So I'll give you a better look here. So I mean, it feels extremely solid, and it actually does feel. I mean, if I were to drop one of these cameras, I think that the Ricoh would escape with less damage than the Minolta. So now let's move on to handling. Let's start off with the TC-1. I'll go over its different knobs and dials and buttons and settings. So you turn the camera on right here. The first thing you'll notice is this mode dial. So on this mode dial, you will be able to change your exposure compensation with this rocker switch, your autofocus or manual focus, your ISO film speed if you want to manually set it, your self timers, red eye reduction, and your different flash modes. This button here basically cancels your manual focus selection. Here you have spot metering shortcut, a button, and your backlight. Also, in terms of changing your aperture, everything's done on the front of the lens. You have 4 apertures to choose from, and each aperture gives you a circular diaphragm which goes over the lens. So there you have it. There's that's Minolta, and like I said, it's not as quick as the Ricoh. It's not bad, but if you're into street photography and you need a camera that's just quick to set up, to change settings on, then definitely go with the Ricoh. Aperture control is right here on a dial, just instant. Exposure compensation, again, instant. Flash settings, self timer. Your modes, which is basically infinity focus, spot metering, snap focus, which presets focus for 2 meters ahead. Again, if you're into street photography, it's a great feature. But other than that, I mean, just everything's right there. It takes a split second to set. Unlike with the Minolta where you have to actually look at the camera, see what it's, just basically see what you're trying to do with each setting, which includes fiddling around with the rocker switch. Whereas on the Ricoh, it's right on the camera. So from that aspect, in terms of handling, the Ricoh is the better camera. But if you're not in a rush and you like fiddling with dials and switches, then you will enjoy shooting with the Minolta. Next up is a comparison of the two cameras' viewfinders. Keep in mind that when you're actually using the cameras, the viewfinders will appear larger to the naked eye than they do through the lens of a camera. One thing to note though is the Minolta TC-1's viewfinder, to my eye, looks sharper. That might be due to the diopter on the back, which let me fine-tune the viewfinder to my own eye. The nice thing about the Ricoh's viewfinder is that it employs frame lines. I love having frame lines because I can see what's just outside of the frame. However, the frame lines on the Ricoh are fairly faint, and if you have a low contrast scene, or you're shooting a bright scene, it does tend to wash out the frame lines, so you almost have to guess where the edge of the frame is. So I'll play that right now. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is the sounds that each camera makes. So let's turn them on. I know if you're out shooting, you honestly don't want a camera that's, especially if you're into street photography, you don't want a camera that's going to make too much noise and basically get someone's attention when you're trying to do a candid portrait or take a candid shot. So in terms of autofocus noise, here's a Minolta. Here's the Ricoh. So the Ricoh it's quite a bit quieter. However, the film advance on the Ricoh is quite a bit louder than that on the Minolta. So here's the Minolta. And here's the Ricoh. So it's a very sharp sound as opposed to the Minolta's more of a muffled sound. So although the autofocus is, it's pretty discreet on the Ricoh, the film advance might turn a head or two. Whereas on the Minolta, it's both the film advance and the autofocus sound similar. Lastly, on this part of the review, let's talk about autofocus speed. I did not want to do that. Let's try that again. I mean, the Minolta might be a hair faster, but again, it's not something you'll really notice. During the second part of this review that I post up, I'll post up pictures I took with both cameras, both shot at the same location, same settings, same framing, just to get an idea of the picture quality comparison. Right now I still have film in the cameras, 9 frames here, 14 frames here. So once those are all gone and the film's developed, I will post up those pictures as well as just a brief commentary on how I feel about the results and how they compare to each other. Alright, thanks.